Okay, I wanted to do a little video here on your group presentation for what we use robots for. You will be doing this in the computer lab. You will be working in the same groups as what you were working in when you completed your Simple Machines flyer. Now there's a handout that goes along with this, and you might find the handout a little more descriptive because it does kind of identify some individual tasks or responsibilities for each of your group members. In this presentation, what you're going to do is you're going to pick a specific robot out of the categories that are listed above, both here on this slide and in the handout as well. So the instructions at the top say choose one of the following topics for a presentation that answers the questions listed below. So the categories are as follows: medical robot, law enforcement robot, military robot, personal assistant robot, manufacturing robot, and space exploration robot. If I was to name off some examples for you, let's say space exploration robot, for example. The Mars rover would be a good example of that. If I was to look at a specific robot for manufacturing, I might say something like a welding robot. Or if I was to look at a specific example for personal assistant robot, we could think about those Roomba vacuum cleaners that we often see advertised on television. There are 9 guiding questions, so my suggestion for you on the handout is that if you have a group of 3, have each person responsible for 3 of the 9 guiding questions. If your group is smaller, then you will have a few more responsibilities, but so far in our mechanical builds that does not seem to be holding people back. So for the guiding questions, we have an example of what task does the robot perform. Sometimes the task is going to be a human function that the robot is going to simulate. Robots often perform dull, dangerous, dirty work, and some of the purposes for the robot is to alleviate the human hazards that are associated with that type of work. Second guiding question is, where is the robot used? So this could be a factory, this could be a surgical room, this could be out in the field for military or law enforcement, or even out in space like the Mars rover. Work envelope is going to be the area that the robot works within. The third question is the robotic end effector multifunctional? The end effector is essentially, for us, our end effector would be our hands. This is what we use to perform our tasks. We can still move around with our feet and our body, but our end effector is our hands. On a welding robot, the end effector would be the welding tool. So different robots are going to have different types of end effectors. The fourth one is, how is the robot taught to perform its task? This could include examples like programming, or through sensors, or even it might just be remote controlled. Fifth guiding question, what sensors does the robot have? And how does the robot use these sensors? There are different types of sensors. There are light sensors, there are sonar sensors, there are digital sensors, which are sometimes referred to as touch sensors. And as you research this topic, hopefully you'll read a little bit more about what sensors are. You're going to be using different types of sensors when we get into programming. Sixth guiding question is to name some advantages and disadvantages of using a robot to complete the task. So, for example, the welding robot, the advantage is it prevents you from being in a hazardous environment. The disadvantage is different types of training or even replacing careers. Seventh one is describe the impact this robot has or could have on its intended audience. So this is kind of the impact on society that this robot may have. The eighth one is what type of jobs or careers are associated with this robot. And what we'd be looking at in instances like this may be greater types of engineering involvement. And then the ninth one, predict and explain how this robot may be altered to perform more or different tasks in the future. So getting back to, is that end effector multifunctional? Can the robot be changed to do different tasks? Number 10 is requiring you to include sketches, pictures, and or a video of the robot performing its task. Let's look at an example from a previous class. I'll go ahead and minimize this. So I have an example up here where someone has done this in Google Slides. So we're going to go to Present. And they're doing the Google self-driving car. You may have heard of these in the news with mixed reviews, but again, this is a very new technology. So they do have a title slide, makes this very appropriate. And then I took their names out. Maybe they'll show up later, but it says student names here. So here's where they've already placed the pictures in. These students did a good job of including the guiding questions that are on your handout and also in the presentation slide that I showed you. So what task does it perform? What human function or task does it simulate? And they talk a little bit about the Google self-driving car has a navigation and can sense the environment. It can drive without a driver controlling it at all. What is it used for? What is its work envelope? Well, it can drive on all roads with a person at the wheel ready to take control. Is the robotic end effector multifunctional? If so, what other tasks can it perform? Well, it can help drive if someone has a disability, or it can be safer in traffic. It's very aware of its surroundings. How is the robot taught to perform its task? The car is made by Google, so it has some of the same things a car can do, like navigation, mapping, can see stop signs, and other road signs. But it can't quite drive without a person at the wheel ready to take over if anything happens, like say a person's walking across the street or animals in the road. So there is still some human interface. Name some advantages and disadvantages of using a robot to complete the task. Advantages of the Google driverless car is it can help someone if they are disabled and they can't get anyone to drive them somewhere. It's able to read road signs, even the ones in school kids' hands, but it can't see, so there's some errors here, can't see hand gestures from a cyclist in the road. Disadvantages, but they can't drive by themselves yet because they haven't been able to program a car turning, or they haven't learned to slow down in bad weather. Describe the impact that this robot has had or could have on its intended audience. They have tried this out, but it's not quite ready because of mostly surrounding things. If something goes out unexpectedly, they don't know if it could detect the person or car. If other people were around it for testing, it could be dangerous to others. You may have seen in the media there's been a couple fatalities involved in driverless cars, not specifically Google driverless cars, but the technology with the driverless car. It's still in its developing stages, and it's a very risky technology because of that. What types of jobs, careers can this robot create to provide employment for people? People can't really do anything like the job with this robot because it's a car that drives itself. Well, that's not quite true. A little research into this and you can see that there's some mechanical engineering and electrical engineering involved. There's also going to be computer science engineering and probably even chemical engineering. So make sure that you're real clear on the research. Predict and explain how this robot may be altered to perform more or different tasks in the future. And the students state, well, soon it's going to be able to drive without help. It just needs a few things done to make it 100% safe for people. And then there's some more pictures of the Google driverless car. So we're going to exit that presentation. We're going to go back to our title slide here. And so you can see those students did address those guiding questions. They did include pictures. Information, not 100% accurate, but I would say that they did a pretty good job and fulfilled the expectations of the assignment. Now, when you have this done, make sure you're going to email this back to me Include all 3 of your group members' names in the subject area of the email and attach this to an email as a PowerPoint or share as a Google Slides. I hope you have good luck with this project, and again, we will be doing this in the computer lab at the same computers that you used for creating your Simple Machines flyers.